It's official. Burkina Faso has expelled 5 French-linked gold mining companies from its territory. And this wasn't a protest. This wasn't a negotiation. It was a government decision, clear, final, and backed by the authority of the state. Signed, sealed, executed. The leader behind that decision? Captain Ibrahim Traoré. At just 36 years old, he has taken a step few African leaders have ever dared to take. He drew a line. And for the first time in decades, gold will no longer flow out of Burkina Faso without accountability. This is not just an update. This is not just a headline. This is news that signals a turning point for Burkina Faso and possibly for the entire African continent. Burkina Faso is one of the richest gold producers in Africa. Every year, the country exports dozens of tons of gold, worth billions of dollars. But here's the question. Where did all that wealth go? Certainly not into the schools, not into the hospitals, not into the hands of the people who live near those mines. While communities remained without clean water, French-linked mining companies reported record profits. And yet, the land that gave the gold was left behind. For years, Burkina Faso operated under licensing agreements that allowed foreign companies to extract and export its most valuable natural resource. On paper, there were benefits. But in reality, the people got the dust. The companies got the gold. These contracts were often signed in rooms ordinary citizens could never enter, and written in languages few local chiefs could read. And even when revenue came in, it rarely reached the ground. Corruption, bureaucracy, and offshore deals ensured that what belonged to millions ended up in the hands of a few. This wasn't a secret. Everyone knew. The miners, the villagers, even the government. But until now, no one acted. Until Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power and asked a different question. If the land is ours, why do others own what's under it? This is why the expulsion matters. It's not just about mining contracts. It's about a government saying, the era of blind extraction is over. It's about accountability, about national dignity, about giving Burkinabe people control over the resources that should have always served them. And the implications? They go far beyond Burkina Faso. The decision wasn't emotional. It wasn't symbolic. It was structured, legal, and decisive. Burkina Faso's transitional government, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, revoked the permits of 5 French-linked gold mining companies. Overnight, operations halted. Machinery stopped. Borders around mining zones were locked down. And for the first time in years, foreign executives were told, this gold is no longer yours to take. What made this move even more significant was that it followed a new mining code introduced by Traoré's administration, a code that prioritizes local ownership, increases state control over resource exports, and requires greater transparency and profit sharing. For decades, Burkina Faso operated under frameworks that favored multinational firms, but Traoré ripped up the old playbook and wrote his own, and he's not acting alone. Burkina Faso is now part of the Alliance of Sahel states, a powerful regional bloc including Mali and Niger. All 3 countries have expelled foreign military forces, taken control of natural resources, and are now exploring a shared currency, independent from colonial-era ties. It's a coordinated movement, not of chaos, but of calculated sovereignty. In the past, any country that tried to push back was quickly isolated, their leaders overthrown, their economies destabilized. But this time, they're standing together, 3 nations, one vision, Africa, controlled by Africans. Traoré knows what this means. He knows the risks, but he also knows if we don't control our resources, we'll never control our destiny. This is bigger than Burkina Faso, because what Captain Traoré just did, every African nation rich in natural resources has considered at some point. What if we took control? What if we stopped exporting our value and started building with it? For decades, African countries have been treated like resource stations, places where raw materials are stripped, shipped, and sold to build economies elsewhere. But what if that cycle breaks? What if gold from Ghana stays in Ghana, Cobalt from Congo fuels Congolese industry, and oil in Nigeria is refined by Nigerian hands. For Nigerian futures, Burkina Faso has proven one thing. It's possible. Possible to say no. Possible to revoke licenses. Possible to renegotiate power. And if one nation can do it, others will follow. In fact, the signs are already here. Mali has suspended international mining contracts for review. Niger is building strategic control over its uranium exports. Congo is pushing to increase local processing of its cobalt. What once looked like scattered frustration is becoming a synchronized resistance. This has always been the dream. From Accra to Addis Ababa, from Kinshasa to Windhoek, a united Africa, an independent Africa. Not just in politics, but in ownership. Ownership of its voice, ownership of its future, and most importantly, ownership of its wealth. Because when we control what comes from the ground, we can invest in what stands above it. Imagine what could be built if Africa stopped exporting opportunity and started investing in itself. More schools, more clean energy, better healthcare, stronger roads, and yes, a stronger position in the world. This is not a fantasy, it's a formula. And Burkina Faso just gave Africa the blueprint. Let's be honest, what Captain Traoré did, it's bold, it's historic, but it won't go unchallenged. Power never lets go quietly. The companies that were expelled, they're backed by international investors, legal contracts, and political allies. Some of them may sue, some may apply diplomatic pressure, some may try to destabilize the situation, economically or politically. Because when you cut off $1 billion pipeline, the world notices. There will be accusations. They'll say it's bad for foreign investment. They'll predict inflation, job loss, isolation. But Traoré understands something deeper. Dependence is the real danger. Not risk, not resistance, but relying on those who have never had your best interests at heart. He's playing a long game, where short-term backlash is the price of long-term sovereignty. The future must be built by us, for us, not as a protest, but as a policy, not just in Burkina Faso, but in Senegal, in Congo, in Zimbabwe, in every nation that's tired of being resource-rich and future-poor. The road ahead is not easy, but it is ours. Burkina Faso has taken a major step, reclaiming direct control over its most valuable natural resource. This is not about division, it's about direction. It's about a nation choosing to define its economic future on its own terms, and choosing to place the interest of its people at the center of its resource policies. As the region watches and other African nations take note, what comes next will determine whether this moment becomes a milestone or just a headline. At the African Scoop, we'll continue tracking the developments, how the government implements this transition, the impact on local communities and the wider economic response across the continent, because this isn't a conflict, it's a recalibration, and it reflects a growing shift towards self-reliance, transparency, and long-term development within Africa. For accurate, respectful, and independent news coverage across the continent, subscribe to the African Scoop. We report the facts, we highlight the decisions, and we let you decide what they mean for Africa's future.